a little bit, or at least they're staying still. So if you drop your knees at a point when you're not moving forward, then the cost is pretty minimal. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
What do you think? Does that make sense? So like, look at video of great breaststrokers, and they're dropping their knees at the last instant, right before they're kicking. And you say, well, they're dropping their knees so they're not moving. I think they're dropping their knees because they're not moving. And if we trust our best swimmers to feel speed, because that's what they do, like Bob's here, and one of the things I've always thought about Michael is he's got the best instincts of anybody I've ever seen. His instincts on how to move fast through the water are better than anybody I've ever seen. And maybe not in breaststroke, because that seems like the most unnatural one. But our best swimmers feel the water in ways that they can't describe to us maybe, and we can't see. So if they're dropping their knees, it's for positioning, and I think it may come at a little bit of a less of a cost than we think. So I'm not saying recover by dropping your knees. I'm saying don't ignore what we're seeing, because we're seeing everybody dropping their knees into position, getting their body in front of it, and then lunging forward. Okay, so if you want to teach that, then you can do that on the Vasa trainer too. So we recover. Instead of kicking from this position, Jeff can drop his knees a little bit if he's positioned right, and then get into what we would think of as more of a realistic kick. And the cool thing about the Vasa trainer is you can go through the pull motion or the kick motion in reverse, real slow, against resistance, and that's great strength training. So you can actually train the kick by moving backwards. And train the recovery by moving backwards. So those are ways we use this. You're done. Thank you. Jeff Cummings. Oh, no. Here for good. Okay, the other thing I want to show you, thanks Jeff, really appreciate it. Other thing I want to show you is this pull-up bar, which we actually in our pool call the vertical Vasa. I'm sure there's some trademark and copyright problems with that, but we're essentially taking the idea of balancing on the forearm and holding the body accountable for it now. So on the Vasa trainer, right, you have the security of the bench, and so you can pull yourself up in a variety of ways, including if you want to get out of that great angle and slide your elbow back or get your hand ahead of your elbow. You can do that, and there's no real cost for it. But if you're hanging, okay, if you're hanging vertically, and you drop your elbows or you change your balance some way, then your feet will come underneath you. Your feet will go out to the side, and so I love this. And I think if you can turn any stroke vertically, then you learn a lot about balance, because what are we trying to do? Well, in any stroke, we're trying to move down the pool in a straight line. We're trying to just get to the other end as fast as possible. If we turn it vertical, then what we're trying to do is move up in a straight line. Okay, but now we got some force acting against us, and that's gravity. And if we're hanging, then we have to learn balance. We have to learn balance in order to stay in a long straight line underneath it. And so we created something like this for our pool deck, and got some straps that we can put your forearms into, and we do a variety of different kinds of exercises. We do one-arm exercises. We do just straight fly pull, and the goal is to keep that angle between the fingertips and the elbow, keep that angle parallel to the surface of the water. And the cool thing is, if you keep it out far enough away from you, then you learn a lot about balance. If you pull it in close, you don't learn much about balance. It's easy to balance if you're in close, and you also feel that it's really not that strong. But the further out you move away, get into a position, it can be really strong, and that really challenges the swimmer's ability to hold their body in a straight line. So we have these fixed straps, but we've started to use, and Sam's got the video here, we started to use some really strong flexible straps, and I love those. And so we'll put a breaststroker in those forearm straps and have them pull up, and they're coming from the outside, so we focused on the in sweep, and they actually jump out of the water. They jump out of the water to the point where they might even hit their head on this, but they don't have to if you make it long enough. If you do one-arm freestyle, you can get this great sense of how to balance around the rotation without moving your feet around, or without having your body move around. Same thing with backstroke. So, and you don't need one of these to practice vertical swimming. You know, you can do a lot of vertical swimming. You can do repetitions of one-arm freestyle, straight up, come back down again, against the surface of the water. And they'll learn, if they drop their elbow, they're not going to go up. If they get their hand ahead of their elbow, they're going to come forward. So it's a great way in the water to learn about the forces that create propulsion. Remember, we're just trying to move up. And a great way to learn about how to balance around those forces. So if you're hanging from the forearm, you learn how to balance from the forearm. If you end up hanging from the hands, you got to figure out how to balance around the hands. If you're focusing on the hands, you're going to have to bring them in a lot closer. And again, it's not as strong. So those are some ideas on how we've used this machine, how we've used and developed that machine, and willing to certainly take questions.
Matt, what type of sets do you do with the swimmers in dry land using the Vasa? I mean, you know, you showed how to use it for teaching. That's very slow progression thing. Do you ever go, 10 sets of 10 sets of 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off? Do you use it for that kind of program?
Yeah. The question Chris had was what kind of sets we use and what kind of how we use this for training. Okay, and I think it's important for us. This may be more than you want, but it's important for us as coaches to figure out what we're doing at dry land, because we can make anything hard, and you can just do hard stuff, and you can do hard stuff that looks like swimming, and maybe get something out of it. But in my mind, there has to be a purpose, and the purpose should either be, I guess, here are two choices. One is to promote a kinesthetic awareness and to basically teach. Okay, and the teaching goes on a couple different levels. One is just if you move through the right sequence of movements, then your body learns something. The other way to teach is to make an association so that the swimmer can make conscious choices about how to move, how to make the movement. And so we can just use this as purely instructional, and then I guess the muscle training. So if you're going to train the muscles to go through these particular movements, then one way that we use it is we'll use it in conjunction with practice. So if I feel like this is a great way to get that feeling of balancing on the forearm and all the stuff that I try to describe, then we'll have somebody come out and do 10 to 20 reps, enough to get a little bit tired but not that tired, and then get in the pool and watch it carry over in the pool. Same thing with this. We don't use this for strengthening nearly as much as we do for just teaching and kinesthetic awareness. Okay, but you certainly can use it for strengthening. That's the other part. If you want to use it for strengthening, then you've got to go to the point where the body's going to create an adaptation, which means that you need to design something that's stressful and that's progressive. We'll start off at different lengths or different heights of this, but it's essentially the goal is to go chunks of 2 minutes. So go 2 minutes on the Vasa and then a minute off. And we'll start generally with 4 or 5 sets of that, and we'll build our way up to 10. And the point of that is we want them to really struggle with the technique at the end, have to hold it. We usually actually put them on a tempo trainer. One pull every 3 seconds on here is pretty reasonable, so they're not ripping through it. And so we go 2 minutes at a time. But you can do. Tyler Fenwick was in here the other day, and he's got his swimmers going 30 minutes at a time. I'm sure you've had people go 30 minutes at a time, an hour at a time. So swimmers will adapt, but I do think if you have a goal for that training, then it needs to be something that you can see is going to really challenge them. And so they're either going to be coming close to failing in technique or coming close to failing in repetition or speed or whatever the case is, and then you make it progressive. So we have both. We use it for both elements, I guess. And then at the end of the season, we crank it up and do explosive pulls. And so get into that position, explode up, try to hit the top. Yeah. Yeah, Sam Mancura is selling it here, Total Performance. Yeah, we built it, and then I had it in a video that I given at this talk, I think, and Sam liked the idea, so he improved it and is selling it now.
Matt, I've just got a comment about another reason that the Vasa trainer is so great. You said the longer the lever, the greater the velocity at the end. Also, the longer the lever, the greater the need for strength and power.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, and Sam's point is that the longer the lever, the greater the speed, which means the greater the force, which means that you need more strength to create that. And so this is a great way to train strength at those limb lengths that you're trying to put into the water. You want to talk to me about what you said the other day? Yeah, on the breaststroke, yeah.
In the videos that Matt did, he's got a description of a real intense description of the breaststroke kick and how it works and how the knee or the thigh actually drops down and pops back up and all that other stuff. And I said, because I coach age group kids, and I'm sitting there and I understand what he's after, but I'm trying to make it as simple as I can. And so I said, okay, what happens? Well, first thing is, if a swimmer stays in that pretty decent line and they pull their legs up like this, if they think of their leg as a spring, they're going to go through that entire motion, which is they'll pull their feet up and then you hammer down with the heel because if that turns the foot out. But if they think of it as a spring, and I tried this, so I'm pretty confident in this. But if they don't go through all those motions on here, then and all they think of is pulling their thigh up or their heels up right against their butt. And I've got some other things that I'm thinking on that one. I want to run one more. But the idea is to be able to pull your leg up straight in the shadow of your body and then push back down. So if you think of it as a spring, but if you can't hold your leg up this way, the swimmer just can't do it forever.
Right.
They have to let go of it. So it can be pulled up as
like loading a spring.
Loading a spring. Yeah. And all you have to do is let that foot go, and the knee drops by itself. Then the feel the swimmer's have comes into play, and that'll go happen.
Yeah, that's a great description. And I think that's the concept of loading a spring into the kick is easily trainable on this machine. Thanks, Michael. Is easily trainable on this machine just with the progressive resistance and just the way this thing's designed. So